Welcome to our first Ashura program for Migration 313. Basically, we're talking about reverts in America, opportunities and challenges. That's the topic. Actually, most people go through their entire lives with very little thought. They get up, they go to work, they do what they have to do. They basically react. So they need money, so they work. So they want this thing they think gives them pleasure, so they do it. They see this thing and they want it, so they go after it and get it. But with very little thought about what this thing is, why am I doing this? So autopilot is necessary because if we wanted to think about every single thing we did, every single second we did it, okay, now I have to get up, now I have to do this, I have to put this foot here, and then put that foot there, and put this arm here, now I have to breathe, now I have to, if we had to do that, life would be so incredibly difficult that we couldn't even accomplish anything. So autopilot has a purpose and has a reason. Autopilot becomes bad when you use autopilot for things that it's not intended for. When you use autopilot, for example, you hear something, you see something, and it makes you think, oh wait, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm doing this wrong. I should reconsider this. Maybe this person's right. Oh, this person has a good idea. But if that person isn't a person that you like or isn't a person in your same party or your same group, you disregard it and you go back on autopilot and you say, no, they're wrong, they're foolish, they're idiots, whatever. For reverts, there are many groups in the U.S. Who take advantage of this phenomenon of autopilot. So they understand that in order to become Muslim, it requires a lot of effort and energy. And there's the phenomenon among reverts, once they find a particular group, whether it's Shia, whether it's Sunni, whether it's Salafi, they go back onto autopilot because it's too hard, it's too difficult. So if they revert into a community that's Salafi, then once they make all this effort, to actually accept Islam, okay, they're going to go back to being on autopilot because that's the easy thing to do. They don't question. They hear, these things that don't make sense to them, but they don't question it. They just keep going on autopilot because that's the easy thing to do. And so basically what they follow the version which is other than the Islam taught by Prophet Muhammad and the divinely appointed laws of Ahlul Bayt. So there's basically two groups that dominate reverts in this country. because they take advantage of that phenomenon. The first one is Sufism, because Sufism is a watered-down version of Islam. Sufism tells people, like celebrities and other people, yeah, you can believe in God, but you don't have to do things. You don't have to fast. You don't have to pray. Just say, I'm a good person. I believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then that's it. Then they can go and chant and clap every once in a while, and that's their religion. And unfortunately, this is a lot of Americans. There's a lot of American Sufis because of this, the autopilot phenomenon. And then so if they come from a liberal background, then they might say, oh yeah, I'm Sufi, and then maybe the next couple weeks later they'll say, I'm Buddhist, or I'm Hindu, because that's their background. They're going on their autopilot. They think religion is just like a thing that you can play with back and forth, like that. And then the other one is, of course, that we know is the Wahhabis, because they have a lot of money, and that's basically why. Because if somebody accepts Islam in this country, and you say, I'm a Muslim now, and I'm going to praise Abu Bakr and Omar, and I'm not going to talk about Iran, and I'm not going to talk about the Ahlul Bayt, they'll support you. They'll give you money. They'll give you a wife. People go online and say this. If they gave me this, they gave me a wife. I went to Mecca. They gave me a house and everything. So that's the other version. The version is not an act; it's a process. And when you do the study, when you do the shahada, that's only the first step in the process. So this is basically what we are go for. So this is our group, Migration 313. Basically, what we're trying to do is take the people who become Muslim in the U.S. and in North America and guide them towards the path of the path of Rasulullah, the path of Ahlul Bayt, and get them to turn off their autopilot for a little bit longer, and get them away from these watered down groups and the Salafi groups, and that's what we're.
ومن يهاجر في سبيل الله يجد في الأرض مراغما كثيرا وسعة ومن يخرج من بيته فقد وقع أجره على الله وكان الله غفورا رحيما.
This is وَمَنْ يُهَاجِرْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ يَجِدْ فِي الْأَرْضِ مُرَاغَمًا كَثِيرًا وَسَعَةً. One who abandons his home for the cause of God will find many places of refuge in the vast land. Is it saying that, does it necessarily mean that the person who leaves his physical home, or no, sheds out of an old skin and takes on a new skin? Well, the verse might be talking about physical home, but the verse, we can deduct from it that it's talking about making sacrifices. Making a change for the better. The thing I want to say though is this, and you might hate me for this. You've taken a big step in your lives, brothers and sisters. So we have like a center point here, and then you have layers and layers around it, like the target. Archers, they have these targets. What are they called?
Bullseye.
Bullseye. Yeah, the middle is the bullseye. I'm talking about the rest of the lines. So you got layers and layers and layers. Okay. Brothers, if you have come and entered this target, you want to move to the center. Layer number one. Out of all the people in the world who don't have deen, who have deen, atheists, not atheists, Christian, you've chosen to have a deen. That's layer. Layer number two. Out of all the deens out there, what have you chosen? Islam. Getting closer to the center. What's in the center? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you're moving towards it. Number two, Islam. Out of all the madahib, all the different denominations, inshallah, we have chosen the one that we think is the truth. We are followers of Ahlul Bayt, moving closer. Every single layer we have put behind us, but there's one last thing. And that's why I said we kind of nailed it. The verse, Amanu. But then we have Amal al-Salihat. So we're not done yet. We're not done yet. I hate to break it to you. It's not enough. You've come this far though. It's a waste to not go the whole way. Alright? Our amal are very important here. So someone will say, but I've made such a big decision in my life. For those of you who are seniors like you, brother, now it's easy for you to accept this. But a person who just comes in, or it's been 1 or 2 or 3 years who comes in, this person has taken a giant step. But slowly we have to let them know that it's not enough still. Still it's not enough. We acknowledge it. We love you for the decision that you've made. Imam al-Allah Hisni. The word of La ilaha illallah, of course, which means here the belief of La ilaha illallah is my fortress, is my castle, is a impenetrable castle, fortress. Allah says. A person who believes in La ilaha illallah, amina min adabi, is protected from my adab, from my punishment. So alhamdulillah, a person who makes this decision has come a long way and has accomplished greatness, but it's not enough. Because they say the Imam, when he said this hadith, they were taking him to Mashhad. When he said this hadith, a little bit after, he stuck his head out again from those little things they have on the camels that they put, that they ride in. They say he stuck his head out again. He says, بِشَرْطِهَا وَشُرُوطِهَا. There's some conditions to this, La ilaha illallah. Okay? Just saying it isn't enough. وَأَنَا مِن شُرُوطِهَا. Me, Imam Rida alayhi salam, I am also one of the shurut. I have to be followed. I have to be obeyed. I have to be your wali. So it's not enough because we have to add to it something else that of course stems from wilaya, which is we have to go by them, go by what they say. A'mal salihan, righteous deeds. We have to add that to it, or else it's not going to work still. But we've come a long way. I said, yes, you've come a long way. And it's interesting that in our lives, examples are all over the place. Okay? A person wants to walk, have activity, whatever, has to have energy. Where does energy come from? Intake of something. Right? Cars, everything, these are the transportation. It needs an intake of fuels. Everything needs fuel to move. Everything. And that's how actually one of the arguments for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's existence is through this. We say, who pushed the first domino? And all of creation came into his. Someone had to push down that first domino. Even there you have this example. In all of our life we see this. Everything needs fuel. The same way perfection always is through hardship. How do diamonds form? Every single example of perfection that we find in this world, we see that there's hardship behind it. These bodybuilders, they destroy themselves. They go through such hardship to attain perfection. So our perfection will also be through hardship. I'll talk about these things inshallah. But here also, so that's an example, perfection, hardship. We see examples in our life. Spiritual life is the same thing. Here also, when it comes to belief and this vessel going up, it needs fuel, even though it's something spiritual. Allah says, what's the fuel for that? The fuel for that is al-amal salih. Big time, inshallah.
MashaAllah. May Allah accept the effort of brother. He has been trying, for some time. It's hard in this. I just want to, just a comment he said open, as Rahbar said beautifully, like today, the message of Hajj is like, Wahdat and know thy enemy. Like, there are two major issues he stressed. And if we can project, like the enemy strategy is to use a Salafi card against Islam. And I think in future, as the awareness goes up, there will be more and more scholars like you, inshallah, and other people who will bring awareness. So they will be using, nationalism card, reverse versus immigrants card, all these kinds. So brother, mashallah, this is a very humble effort, and inshallah, maybe.
And one thing I want to talk about, since you mentioned Wahdat, it might be a good idea to not make it a Shia thing. Because as we see that our leader today, what he's stressing on is that Sunni and Shia are no difference. We have, the enemies have shown themselves who they are. This whole extremist ideology that's out there, that's the enemy. Shia, Sunni, nothing. We have to spread this culture that, listen, the same way we have a person who follows one of the 4 imams of the Sunni school in his fiqh, and another Sunni has another Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal he follows Abu Hanifa, he's Hanafi, he's Maliki. The same way there's a 5th one actually, who actually taught the imams of the 4 madhahib, or some of the 4 madhahib.